This week we've been continuing to work on the chimney behind me. Now that the flue is in, and that's been put into the original brick chimney that you can see here, we are now ready for the fun part, which is starting to lay the floor and the tile for the wood burning stove to sit on. And this particular part of the house, it had a beautiful, huge, big piece of sandstone as the hearth for the old coal fireplace and these beautiful, big, large beamed floorboards. But unfortunately, for us to be to code with the wood burning stove, we do need a bigger fire safe clearance. And so we are having to take up some of the floor and put down a beautiful tile, which is not a bad thing. So the first thing we had to do was we had to take out this huge piece of sandstone, which actually turned out a little more challenging than we were expecting because it was much thicker and much more heavy than we were expecting. You can see how thick this piece of sandstone is that we've taken out from the hearth. And it's actually upside down right here. The only way we could get it out was actually to roll it. And so you'll see that on the top here, it's actually quite, it's not very flat. Underneath, it's got a lovely, nice flat finish. But as I said, we just rolled it out, and we're gonna need to find some extra muscle to move it out of the house because it's so heavy. But what we've decided to do is we're actually gonna put it by the front door and actually make it that bottom step, or right at the bottom of the steps as you come into the manor. It's amazing to think that that huge piece of sandstone was sitting on these two small pieces of wood. And so with the sandstone gone, it was now time for us to take up the rest of the floorboards. There's nothing like cutting a really large hole in your floor, but in this case it was kind of cool because we could now see the chimney that goes right to the basement. And this is the log that we cut out of the floor. And what's so amazing, I think, is that back in the day, they would literally just cut down trees and use them. And you can see that this side was flat. So the sandstone piece would sit on top of this piece of wood that was the beam in the floor in this room. And the crazy thing is that other than a very small piece of wood, kind of at the back, right by the bricks there behind me, this was all that was holding up that huge sandstone piece, which weighs a ton. So yeah, it's our new wood that we put in to reinforce the floor is going to be a little stronger, I think, than just one tree. With the old wood taken out, it was time for us to rebuild a strong foundation for the floor. And so Stephen put in joist hangers, and we put beams across every 12 inches to make the floor really nice and secure and to stop any flex which could cause the tile to crack. Today our tile arrived for underneath the wood burning stove in our music room, and I couldn't wait to get one out because we actually bought these online, and so I hadn't actually seen one in person, which, you know, is always a little bit of a gamble. I love the design when I saw it online, but you're never quite sure exactly how they're gonna kind of turn out. And it turns out it's a really thick tile, which is kind of nice. It's very substantial. It's got this beautiful kind of black and white Victorian pattern, which is what we wanted. And I love the fact that the black is it's almost charcoal. It's not like that pure black. So it's just got a really nice feel to it. So I can't wait now to get a few out of the box and start playing a little bit with how they're going to what they're going to look like on the floor. We haven't quite got the floor completely ready, but it will be ready in the next day or so. So I think I'm going to go and lay some out and just have a look and get an idea of what it will look like. So we still have the concrete board that has to go down on top of this plywood before the tiles go down, but I thought that I would just have a little play with these beautiful tiles to see what they would start to look like when they're going to be laid. And I'm just placing them, leaving kind of enough space for the grout line to give me an idea of what they're going to look like. We're actually going to put a wood border around all the tile, and we're actually going to use these old floorboards that we cut up. We're going to cut them down and actually place them so it will match the actual floorboards. And then, like I say, the tile will go in the middle. And yeah, I think it's going to look really great. I'm just loving the pattern. I love kind of the simplicity, but the pattern is just gorgeous. And with the trim round the edges, and then we're going to have the tile that goes right the way back to the brick here, and then our wood burning stove will then sit on top. So I can't wait to see it all laid and finished. You'll remember last week we had our soapstone countertops installed, and it's probably hard to see in the video, but when they were installed, they had kind of a grayish bluish kind of color to the stone. And we knew that when we waxed them, they would really deepen in color. So Stephen found this, it's a stone and concrete wax. And it actually smells really good. It's got beeswax and citrus oil in it, and it smells really citrusy. So it makes everything smell really good. And so what he's been doing is applying a coat of this every few days over the last week. And the very first time he put it on, the difference was unbelievable. It really darkened the stone up. It made it look much more black because it is a black soapstone, but it also brought out and gave depth to all the veining and the pattern that you could see in the stone. And so what we found was that you applied a coat and then the next day you'd see it would just really absorb into the soapstone, and it would lighten up again. And so we would apply another coat, and then we've done that a couple of times, and I think we're going to do one more coat, and then it will pretty much stay at the color or that depth that we want. And then over time, if it gets marked up or as we clean it, that wax gets kind of wiped away. We just put more wax on to keep it looking really great. So while Hendrix enjoys a snooze in the sun, we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Ladysmith Manor Diaries.